To understand the moment a narcissist finally realizes you are truly done, you have to begin with a psychological difference that most people overlook. A narcissist is not afraid of conflict. In many cases, conflict actually comforts them. Anger, pleading, explaining, defending, these are all signals that the emotional connection between you is still active. As long as you keep reacting, they know they can still reach you. What truly unsettles them is something far more subtle. It is the moment your emotional energy begins to shift. Human relationships are not only built on words or actions, they are formed through small emotional exchanges, tone of voice, eye contact, the urgency behind a message, the way someone leans in while speaking. These signals communicate far more than we usually notice. Narcissistic personalities, even though they lack true empathy, are often extremely sensitive to these changes. Over time, they learn to read emotional reactions the way a trader studies a market. Your pain, your hope, even your frustration all communicate one thing: you are still engaged. The moment you stop being engaged, the entire dynamic begins to change. At first, the narcissist may not fully understand what is happening. They may only feel that something is different. Your replies become shorter. Your tone loses its intensity. The long explanations disappear. You no longer try to make them understand your perspective. You stop fighting to be heard, and what they sense, often before you even say it, is that something inside you has gone quiet. This quietness is deeply disturbing. For someone whose identity depends on emotional control, narcissistic power does not exist on its own. It only exists in relation to others. It requires engagement. It needs emotional movement. In many ways, it operates like a psychological current. When you argue, the current flows. When you defend yourself, the current continues. Even when you withdraw dramatically or show anger, the current is still active. But when emotional detachment appears, the current begins to weaken. And that is the moment the narcissist starts to feel something they rarely handle well: uncertainty. Because what they rely on, often without being fully aware of it, is the ability to provoke you. If they can make you angry, they know they still matter. If they can make you cry, they know they still have access to your emotional world. If they can make you explain yourself again and again, they know you are still searching for something from them. But indifference sends a completely different message. Indifference says, you no longer have power over my inner world. And psychologically, that is far more unsettling than anger. Anger still proves they matter. Indifference quietly removes that importance. This is why many people are surprised by what happens next. They expect the narcissist to react most strongly to confrontation, accusations, or emotional declarations of independence. Yet very often, the moment that truly alarms them is much quieter. It is when you stop trying, when you stop correcting their lies, when you stop looking for resolution, when you stop needing them to understand your pain. Because in that moment, something becomes clear to them in a way words never could. The emotional door they once walked through so easily is beginning to close. And when a narcissist senses that door closing, they understand something that threatens the entire structure of their control. For the first time, they are no longer shaping your emotional reality. And that realization marks the beginning of the moment they fear most. The moment they recognize they may have already lost you. Once the narcissist senses that you are emotionally detached, their reaction often surprises those who have been involved with them for years. You might expect anger, threats, or complete withdrawal. But more often, the first response is something far more calculated: sudden charm, a softer tone, carefully chosen words, a surface level display of self awareness. They may speak about regret, about lessons learned, about how they now see the pain they caused. And if you are not careful, it can feel almost genuine. But it is important to understand that this is not a moment of real change. It is a deliberate strategy. It is their first attempt to regain the influence they have lost. What is fascinating and revealing about narcissistic behavior is how aware they are of timing and perception. They have spent years observing how people respond to them, remembering which words, gestures, and emotional appeals create the effect they want. When they sense detachment, there is an immediate need to adapt. Charm becomes a tool because they know that emotional softness or the appearance of accountability can draw you back into the current they are trying to restore. It is essentially a psychological trap, and it works because it targets the very hope that kept you involved in the first place, the hope that they might change. Yet beneath this surface lies a quiet tension. Narcissists exist in a constant conflict between self-image and reality. The image they present is carefully constructed to ensure admiration, attention, or at least compliance. When you detach, they are forced to face a reality that does not match their design. The calm, reflective behavior is an attempt to manage this conflict, to appear in control even as they feel it slipping away. The charm is a calculated mask, and often it is in these moments that their most subtle forms of manipulation appear. In truth, they are not seeking understanding. They are searching for a way back in. This is why it is easy to misinterpret them at this stage. Someone unfamiliar with narcissistic patterns might see this sudden softness as empathy, regret, or even love. But a closer look at the pattern reveals the truth. The change depends entirely on the situation. It appears only when it benefits the narcissist's goal. Your detachment triggers it. The moment you are no longer emotionally available, they adjust their approach. It is a reaction, not a transformation. The charm is never an invitation to real healing. It is a test. Will you respond? Will you re-engage? Will you once again feed the current that supports their sense of identity? And here lies a key psychological insight. Narcissists rarely reflect on their behavior the way a non-narcissistic person would. Their self-awareness is selective and strategic. They may talk about lessons learned, but those lessons are not about growth. They are about control, how to regain what was lost, how to recapture attention, how to reverse your emotional withdrawal. The words are carefully chosen to create the appearance of depth, but the real goal is practical. Their awareness is directed toward achieving a specific outcome. For anyone experiencing this, it is important to recognize the difference between genuine reflection and strategic adjustment. Real change shows consistency across situations and over time. What the narcissist offers in these moments is a temporary shift, a final attempt to reclaim what you have taken back. It is a reflection of the power you once gave them and the power you are now reclaiming. The essential truth is this: their charm, when faced with detachment, is never innocent. It is calculated. It is a sign that they recognize the shift, that they understand the loss of control, and that they are actively trying to regain it. And once you see this clearly, once you understand the mechanics behind the calm tone and the apology, the choice becomes obvious. You are no longer dealing with someone capable of true growth in that moment. You are facing a pattern designed to pull you back in. And by seeing it for what it is, you take back the first piece of your freedom, the freedom to remain silent, the freedom to step away, and the freedom to refuse engagement even when it is presented in a convincing way.